Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Austria Grand Prix review. I'm AJX, and I'm joined by Sahwgunn,
Hello everyone.
who, of course,
Back.
was at the Austrian Grand Prix, and we're
Yep,
gonna
indeed.
dive into it and divulge what occurred, what happened, and the craziness that was the Austrian Grand Prix, which was a good Grand Prix to watch. I wonder how it was for you in the grandstands.
It was, from a racing perspective, it was a very good race. But also, yeah, the conditions were very hot. You could also see that from the Mercedes being really slow. It's like my brain was operating just like, well, my entire body is operating just like the Mercedes F1 car. So I was not feeling that well, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. It was good. The first time on the main grandstand, so I saw the turn one, I saw turn four in the distance, where the main things happened, and yeah, I was there only for a Sunday, so I only have the experience from that day, but also I have, well, I obviously watched the qualifying as well, so I guess I could talk about it as well. Anyways, yeah, I think I'll talk about my experience more throughout the video when we talk about
That's
things.
fair. That's fair. When I went to Silverstone for the first time in 2001, it was also like 32 degrees out. So I sort of understand what you mean there. It's just the weather is punishing when it's that temperature. But I do hope that you remain safe at the very least. But yes, well, let's start off with the big talking point. We both had in our biggest surprise and overperformers some terrible takes, some terrible takes. We'll start with Max Verstappen, of course, a DNF, which means that he did not get the chance to get a race ban, which I was very sad about. But yes, he had a DNF. Because of a crash with Kimi Antonelli, who came in far too hot. This was the one bit that I was actually interested to see if you could see from your spot on the grandstand. Did you see Kimi Antonelli absolutely go haywire into that corner, completely losing it and ending up crashing into Max in quite a huge way?
Okay, so in this moment, I had like two POVs. I obviously had the board, like the TV, essentially the broadcast from the
Yes.
Austrian Grand Prix. It wasn't the official F1 broadcast. It was separate, and I also had the POV of the turn four in the distance. What was turn three? Sorry. In this case, I was watching the McLarens because Piastri had a very, very good start. He got past Leclerc and I was like slipstreaming north to turn one. So basically, I was watching that. And whenever they went past turn one, I was starting watching the TV because I wanted to see how that unfolds. And suddenly they just cut to Antonelli and Verstappen going off track. And it was like, I just missed that moment because I could have seen like from the distance Antonelli locking up and that. But uh, yeah, still nonetheless, it was the reaction from the crowd, especially after they showed Verstappen getting out of the car. Like the entire track was like, ooh, or whatever. Like it was, the emotions were high, especially since like 90% of the fans were Red Bull fans. From
Hmm.
my experience,
Yeah.
like the Orange Army was like 50%, and the 40% was the Red Bull, like uh, casual Red Bull merch, and then the 10% was all the other fans, pretty much. Um, yeah, the I enjoyed it that moment, but after that, it was like a pretty casual race.
Yeah.
Apart from that moment,
Yeah,
yeah.
there wasn't too much to go on after that moment. Of course, the McLarens did fight an awful lot, but
Yeah.
no huge scares or big, huge talking points after that one. I still think it was an entertaining Grand Prix, at least from my perspective. I still had a good time watching it. I think at least something was happening all the time. Whether it was my driver for overperformer Yuki Tsunoda managing to get caught up in two huge incidents, or in general, there seemed to always be something going off on track, at the very least, which made it an interesting Grand Prix to say the least. So I did enjoy it. I did enjoy watching it gratefully. Hopefully, it wasn't as boring from the grandstands as it could have been. Because we definitely had some very boring races over the past few years. And my brother at the start of the race said he thought that both Lando and Piastri were going to be a minute ahead of the rest of the field, which they came close to, but they didn't. But yes, both of us don't get points for my race ban for Silverstone, and Red Bull's both top 5. Neither do we get points for our overperformers, because definitely those two cannot get shout-outs. Even Verstappen qualifying 7th is a disappointment. Also, our underperformers, pretty bad takes as well. We have... go ahead.
We have a lot of bad picks here today.
Yeah, no, it was a great weekend for us. We had Leclerc and Piastri. Of course, Leclerc came 3rd overall, and Piastri in 2nd. But yes, not correct in the end there. It really is looking like Red Bull is just so much quicker than everyone else. Not Red Bull, sorry, McLaren. I'm so used to saying the Red Bull's so much quicker than everyone else. They were fighting, right, all race, and Leclerc was still losing time on them, or the whole of the first section, of the race before the first pit stops. They were just fighting the entire time, and yet Leclerc couldn't catch up with either of them, which really showed their dominance on this track, I think.
Yeah. Plans were just clear this entire race weekend. I mean, the gap in quali, especially on such a short track. Obviously, we had Piastri in P3, but that was mostly due to another great banker, and then Gasly spinning out. That was the thing I saw, by the way, from the grandstand. Gasly spinning out in Q3. So, yeah.
See, I still haven't seen that. It wasn't shown in the broadcast for whatever reason.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like these things, like you have to look at them to catch them live, and when you're not looking at that exact point, like you're just gonna turn your head and there's a smoke there, or dust or whatever. Like that's exactly what happened with Norris on like lap whatever. At the beginning of the race, he went off track in the last turn, and like Piastri could catch up and try to attack. Basically, I just turned around and suddenly, like, there was a gas cloud or dust cloud or however I call it, and just the McLarens like right next to each other. It was like a meter between them, like right as they were going in front of me. Yeah. Okay. Just quickly wanted to mention biggest surprise, obviously no points, overperformer. Who would you give this to?
Oh, I really don't know. It's a difficult one, at least off the top of my head. We had some strange drivers in the top 10. Let me think. I really just can't remember.
Honestly, I could name like 4 drivers who would deserve it.
Lawson,
for sure.
Lawson.
Yep.
Or
Liam Lawson, both sound drivers. Obviously, Lando finally had a good weekend. Yeah, I just pretty much those 4.
It's a good fair point. It was sad to see that Bortoleto couldn't attack Alonso in the last 2 laps with the McLaren drivers going through. It did make a fun end to the race. But yes, who are you thinking for underperformers? Because I have two there. If you must.
Underperformer, strictly from a driver POV, Lance Stroll. Like the he was invisible this week. I don't think I've seen him in the driver's parade, and it was literally like he didn't give a damn. It was just lying in the car, doesn't care about fans. Like Frando's there waving to the fans, Lance just sitting there, like looking at his feet. It was such a weird look. Like he's literally not caring about F1 anymore. I feel like it's maybe his dad forcing him to be there at this point. It's strange, but yeah. Lance definitely one of my picks, and the second one, uh, if I had to guess, your second pick, probably Antonelli, just based on the entire consequence of what happened. Uh,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, my
there are definitely drivers who had like weak weekends, but not necessarily the like the big underperformers like those two.
my two picks were Yuki and Antonelli because it was a bad weekend for Yuki. The the chaos that he caused during that race uh, was good entertainment, but yeah, 10-second penalty in the end of it and coming dead last in the only Red Bull, I think is a big disappointment for him, especially when it's the Red Bull Arena and you'd expect them to do better, but just could not bring that to the table this week. But yeah, those would be my two picks. Perfect team. What we thinking here?
McLaren and Sauber. I think those two teams are like clear.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out to Ferrari. I don't think they deserve it, but they have actually improved. It's cool to see.
Over the weekend. Yeah, it wasn't like they were like
This,
competing with McLarens. They were just clear second fastest.
yeah, but
And
that is their best weekend.
that's maybe true, actually.
Yeah,
But
they've not
also,
had
like,
a 3-4 at all this whole
yeah,
season.
they were just there. Like, I mean, Mercedes was just overheating. Red Bull was, I don't know what Red Bull was doing this weekend. Like, even Max was just suddenly nowhere in qualifying. Obviously, the race ended prematurely, and Yuki. I mean, Yuki is a good shot for underperformer. I kind of forgot about that, but in qualifying, he was relatively close to Max, like 2.5 times. Yeah, short track, but anyways, the race was very bad from Yuki, and overall the strategy wasn't great. Obviously, there's the incident with Colapinto, and then the other incident. I think there was a second one. Not sure exactly which, but he had to pit like extra time for a front wing. I think. So yeah, I'm just generally very bad weekend from Yuki, and yeah.
Yeah,
Just
definitely. But yeah, I definitely think that is the case. And tragic team, I think that has to go to Red Bull, as we've just talked about.
um,
Pretty abysmal.
I would like to propose a point for Williams because the double DNF.
Granted, yeah, okay, fair
They
enough.
didn't even start the race with one car, and the other car broke down
Yeah,
halfway through the race.
you're completely right there. You're completely right. I think a point is guaranteed there. You should get a point for that. I think both those teams had an abysmal weekend. So yeah,
Yep.
fair enough. Fair
Yeah,
enough. Into our top five, we have, of course, in P5, Lando Norris for me, which is way off in quali. He actually looked like he gained his confidence back this weekend.
Yeah, it was a very clean weekend from Lando. Pretty much topped every session except the first one that he didn't participate in. So yeah, he almost got this clean sweep, but yeah, definitely far from P5.
It was interesting to see the McLaren rookie practice driver. I forget what they're called.
I like that.
Yeah, taking part and getting, you know, a decent place. I know the McLaren. We just talked about the McLaren being so quick this weekend, but that was a good placement. And you know, if you're a McLaren fan, you're certainly not worried if, say, Lando or Piastri were suddenly to go to another team, maybe Red Bull or something, because you look to have quite a quick drive in the wings as well.
Yeah.
Granted, maybe not as quick, but you know,
I mean,
we've seen we've seen stranger things happen before. Yeah, I was really impressed by Lando. I think he was phenomenal this weekend. Really showed that he actually can do it, right? And he needs to do it for the rest of the season now. So, yeah, I was happy for him and his performance because, you know, it's not easy when you've had such a few difficult races to bounce back like that, and it really, I think he's going to be good for this rest of the European leg. I'm really looking forward to seeing him go out there and do stuff, especially with Silverstone coming up as well. The Lando Norris stand, as the British commentators kept talking about. Honestly, it was all they ever talked about on the broadcast this weekend. The fact that the fact we were going to see the Lando Norris stand next week.
Yeah.
But yes, you had Antonelli, who I can't remember. No, he didn't. He wasn't fifth, was he?
It was P9, thanks to Gasly. Not Gasly. Sorry. He went across the line, like right before the flag, so he essentially didn't get to settle another lap time and finish P9.
Now I get a sneaky point for my P4 Hamilton. Hamilton had a pretty nothing weekend despite coming fourth, but hopefully again we see a bit of a better performance at the British Grand Prix. He was just fourth though, like he was a long way off Leclerc. Yeah, it wasn't like an exciting one from Lewis Hamilton this weekend. I can't lie, even with a quite good performance to get fourth overall, which to be honest you just don't expect from him at this current time. So it was good to see. We then had I get a sneaky point there. We then had in P3 Oscar Piastri, which a bit of a shock. Of course, we mentioned earlier the Gasly incident, and then P2 was Charles Leclerc. Neither of us getting that, and neither of us getting P1 either. A really rough weekend for us overall. With you predicting Piastri and me predicting Verstappen. In the race,
Lana to be better. The McLaren's better. I just expected Max to be there as well. Which was the thing that kind of hurt my predictions.
we did have the biggest gap between two drivers this season in this qualifying. I don't think that happens with the Gasly spin though. I'm sure it would have been a lot closer without that.
I feel like Lando would have still gotten pole, but it would be like very close, like still like 1/10, maybe max 2. But I feel like Piastri had the pace in him. He just couldn't get the laps together. He was basically pretty much resembling Lando from last few weekends. Like just couldn't manage to get a flawless lap or a clean lap or
yeah, exactly. Up next, we have the actual race results. I get a point for George Russell, who had quite an abhorrent weekend after his incredible victory in Canada. He honestly looked like he could be overtaken by Bortoleto at some stages in that Grand Prix. Bortoleto was catching up to him. Fortunately, he managed to keep it and did an off-screen, at least to British broadcasting, off-screen double overtake on both Lawson and Alonso that we just did not see. But yeah, it was a poor weekend from him, to be honest.
Poor weekend from Russell. I mean, his teammate crashed in turn 1, didn't qualify well, and Russell pretty much there. I feel like there's more on Mercedes not being quick.
Yeah.
I don't feel like Russell did anything wrong this weekend. He was just there, invisible, in the like in his own land. He was like no one in front of him, no one behind him, pretty much.
Yes, yeah, you're right there. You're right. In P4, you had Leclerc. I had Russ. Oh, wait, I had Leclerc. You had Russell. um, and yeah, both missing out there with the Lewis Hamilton pick. If only I just kept him in there. P3, Piastri, of course, finished P2. Leclerc managing to finish there. Again, this Ferrari looks like it might be the third quickest, especially in hot weather climates. So maybe the rest of the season we might see a lot more of Ferrari, hopefully battling both Russell and Verstappen a lot more, and Antonelli, I should say, as long as he doesn't go crazy in turn one again. You had Norris and I had Verstappen as our P2. He, of course, did not finish. And we finish off with another point for me for the Norris P1 pick,
Yep.
which I'm very pleased about. Extra ball predictions. I was praying, beyond praying, that Norris and Piastri would crash into each other because I could have got the Ferrari one too and got that at 5 points, but it didn't occur. And Alonso did have an amazing race, but couldn't manage to get the top spot in the end, or those top 3 spots. He was impressive though.
Yeah, I mean the McLarens were very close to be, well, both maybe not out of the race, but definitely would need like would lose some time generally, because like Piastri was a few centimeters away from rear-ending Lando's car. So like obviously the entire battle lasted for a while. Maybe wasn't the definition of a battle, but Piastri was right there behind him for a long time. He tried some. Well, he overtook Lando once, but Lando got a switchback and
It was a
overtook him
great switchback
to
as
turn
well.
4. And that was very good racecraft from Lando. Like his racecraft defended that win in Austria. I feel like this is very big improvement. Maybe not just the pace. I mean, pace was there for Lando the entire time, but he always lacked the racecraft to essentially, like, in these moments, like this was a critical moment that he actually delivered. And I mean, kind of schooled Piastri in that moment. Piastri had no real answer after that. Like he was close, but never close enough for a regular attack.
We had
And yeah,
the
then they
lock-up, of course, which Piastri got a telling off for, which I thought was quite funny.
yeah, I mean, they battled. Well, they were close to each other until they decided to, well, separate them manually by pitting Lando first, then wait a couple of laps, and then bring in Oscar. So they created a gap between them. Well, I guess a smart thing, but for McLaren doing that, because they were looking, they were almost crashed out of the race. So I guess a smart move there, but it kind of ruined the fun in that part,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
like it was a lot of fun seeing the McLaren so close to each other. Especially when they were like 20 meters in front of me, like in the slipstream. The gap was very close for a long time. Then the pit stop, then obviously the middle part of the race, like from the first pit stop to the second pit stop, it was like, I think that was the most boring part of the race. But then we had some midfield battles, and then in the end, after the third pit stop, Piastri was again catching up to Lando. Then the traffic, and then like the incident with Colapinto, who somehow didn't see Piastri and was ignoring his range engineer, telling him that's Piastri, and he almost, well, it was
Tried
probably
desperately
more
to
than
get in splits in the strips, in the slipstream for DRS on the car in front, which I believe was Yuki. So yeah,
yeah, it was.
it was chaotic.
Yeah. Fortunate for Piastri, but I still don't feel like he would have gotten close enough for an attack on Lando. Maybe if they wouldn't screw him over by the strategy, but we'll never know because all the variables. I feel like Piastri maybe was a little bit quicker in pure race pace this weekend, but it's hard to judge. I feel like you could argue for both, honestly. In this case, I feel like Piastri was catching up to him, even when he was not in DRS. Obviously, when you're in DRS, for DRS zones covering half the track, so you're gonna get close. But whenever he was like a few seconds behind Lando, he was catching up. So yeah, maybe a little underwhelming for it to end that way, but we still got a pretty fairly exciting race from other cars. Well, not from Ferraris, they were nowhere. Russell was there as well, and then we had behind them the battle between Lawson and Alonso throughout the entire race. Just imagine, it's like right next to each other. Obviously, then Alonso was being caught up by Bortoleto. In the end, got schooled as well. I mean, the rookie battling Fernando Alonso, the driver with the most Grand Prix in F1 history, probably will keep that record. It was a nice battle, and then obviously we had Hulkenberg up there from P20 to P9, huge comeback drive, helped by the DNFs, obviously. Sorry.
Don't worry.
And then P10, I believe, was Haas of Esteban Ocon, so a good drive from him there as well.
Yes.
I believe there are some other talking points. I just cannot exactly remember what exactly I wanted to talk about.
We have a big talking point to talk about in our next episode, which will be the predictions episode for the British Grand Prix. But yeah, it was a good race. I liked it. I really did like it. Very, very, very pleased overall that it looks like we're going to start getting some battles between the McLarens, and of course Silverstone is always an exciting Grand Prix, and luckily for the Mercedes duo, it doesn't look to be that hot on the Sunday. No rain predicted at least, but we're not looking to have some hot weather, which might bring the Mercedes into it as well. But yes, very much looking forward to that Grand Prix. I'm glad you had such a wonderful time in Austria for this one.
Apart from the 8-hour bus trip to home.
Yeah, I can imagine. Jesus.
Yeah, there are bad parts and good parts about the entire Sunday that I've had, but generally, from an F1 fan perspective, it was great.
Good. That's the main part. But yes, thank you very much for joining me. We are a bit chaotic here today, but yeah, it's been awesome to talk to you.
Yep. Likewise. Just a little one thing. I'm gonna add up the points. You're on 30 points now, and I'm 24. So a 6-point gap again. The gains I've made last week are gone. Sorry, I didn't mean to delete that. Sorry.
He creates a gap again, everyone.
Okay, you're first to 30 points, so congrats to that, and I'll try to catch up next weekend as well.
Is this the fastest either of us have got to 30 points before? I feel like our predictions are getting even more better.
It could be, but I have no data to support that, so...
That is fair, that is fair. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, everyone. We're excited for the next Grand Prix. And as always, peace.
Peace.